The Shire is a small, fertile region in the northwest of Middle-earth, shaped more by farming than by war. Its landscape reflects centuries of quiet cultivation rather than conquest.
Waterways define the Shire's settlements. Rivers and streams provide irrigation, boundaries, and natural meeting places, reinforcing a way of life tied closely to the land.
Hobbits favor homes built into the earth itself. These dwellings regulate temperature naturally and reflect a cultural preference for comfort, permanence, and closeness to nature. Although
farming is not merely an occupation here, but a social structure. Work is communal, seasonal, and deliberately modest, reinforcing cooperation rather than hierarchy.
Daily life in the Shire follows the rhythms of light and weather, shaped by habit rather than schedule. Food preparation here remains local and manual, guided by tradition, passed quietly from one generation to the next.
Food storage reflects long-term planning shaped by seasons rather than markets or trade.
Labor here is paced to allow rest, reflecting a culture that values endurance over urgency.
As the day ends, activity contracts inward, marking a clear boundary between work and rest.
Through routine and restraint, this region has endured largely unchanged, while the wider world beyond its borders continues to shift.
Through routine and restraint, this region has endured largely unchanged, while the wider world beyond its borders continues to shift.
Community life is organized informally, shaped by custom rather than authority.
Time here is measured less by urgency than by shared experience. Long after the plates have emptied, the company lingers, letting the fire and the talk settle into memory.
Seasonal change defines life here more reliably than any written calendar. After the lean months of winter, the land answers the first warmth with tender shoots and tilled earth, inviting hands to shape the year ahead.
The local environment is closely observed and quietly protected, allowing natural cycles to remain largely intact. In late spring, hawthorn and dog roses crowd the hedges, their blossom.
Seasonal gatherings emphasize continuity rather than spectacle, reinforcing shared identity through repetition.
Food abundance marks success not through accumulation, but through distribution. Here, every loaf torn, every jar unsealed is a token of the season shared outwards. The more hands at the table.
Harvests are planned for sufficiency rather than surplus, reflecting long-standing cultural restraint.
Missing. Music and storytelling remain informal, woven into daily life rather than set apart from it. They rise with the smoke of the cooking fire, shared under the open sky, as
storage practices emphasize familiarity and trust rather than formal accounting. Embarrassing self-stamps to Robbie, Creduniu, and a small puncturing legend.
Tom marks a gradual shift inward as preparation replaces production.
Winter narrows daily life to the essentials, reinforcing close social bonds and reliance on preparation.
Through seasonal repetition and cultural restraint, this region has remained largely unchanged while history unfolds elsewhere.
Authority here is administrative rather than coercive, focused on record-keeping and mediation rather than enforcement.
The borders of the Shire are defined more by habit than by defense. Here, at the edge of the farmlands, a simple path fades into the hills. Grass trespasses.
Unlike many regions of Middle-earth, the Shire maintains no standing army and little formal governance. Instead, its affairs are tended from modest buildings such as this one, quiet, practical.
Travel beyond the Shire is uncommon and for many residents unnecessary. Most roads here lead only to neighbours, fields and familiar hearths, yet every so often a signpost like this reminds them.
This isolation is largely self-imposed, shaped by a cultural preference for familiarity over discovery.
Local knowledge is precise inwardly and imprecise beyond its borders. Here the lines are sharp, rivers are counted, fields measured, every ridge named. Past the last shepherd's path, the
security, where it exists at all, is symbolic and preventative rather than martial.
lines. The absence of fortification reflects confidence born of long neglect by outside powers.
Events beyond the Shire are acknowledged, but rarely allowed to alter daily life.
You say there's trouble in the south. Still, the taters look fine this year.
Aye, if the rains hold, we'll have plenty for winter.
In choosing to remain small, the Shire has remained intact, a quiet exception in a changing world.
Resilience here is practical rather than ideological, expressed through routine maintenance rather than preparation for conflict.
Objects are valued for longevity, reinforcing a culture of repair over replacement. Each scar in the metal, each splice of new wood, is a record of seasons endured.
The landscape itself records movement, preserving history without inscription.
Born with only a liability for marriage. Daily rhythm here is shared implicitly, shaped by long familiarity rather than coordination.
To animus. Continuity is expressed materially through objects that remain in use across generations.
The outside world exists at the margins of awareness, acknowledged but rarely engaged. Here, where the stones give way to moss and memory, only a few footprints disturb the quiet.
Stability in the Shire is not accidental, but carefully maintained through restraint. Evenings like this, with hearth smoke rising in quiet harmony, tell the story of a people.
The landscape of the Shire shapes identity as much as culture, encouraging continuity through familiarity.
Boundaries here are soft and maintained, designed to guide rather than divide.
Waterways function as shared spaces, supporting agriculture, travel, and daily routine.
Craftsmanship here prioritizes maintenance over innovation, extending the life of everyday objects. Blades are honed, handles mended, and each material given a second, and often a third, purpose.
Further, efficiency is measured not in speed, but in sustainability.
Movement outward is possible, but rarely encouraged by necessity.